Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. My name is Stephanie Dahl, and I am one of the owners of Dahl Fischer. We are an estate planning, business, and criminal defense law firm. And one of the things we're doing during this kind of time of shelter in place with COVID-19 is we're interviewing different business owners to talk to them about what they're seeing, how things are affecting people in their industry and their clients, to provide more information to you all. So today with me is Kelley Rider Goodwin. She is the owner of the Rider Goodwin Law offices, and they exclusively practice in family law. So I will let her do an introduction about her and her firm and her team.
Thanks so much, Steph. Thanks again for having me. It's super exciting. And I will say that one of the things that I have been learning about is all this fun technology during the shelter in place. So thanks. I'm glad we were able to do this virtually. Like Steph said, my name is Kelley Rider Goodwin. I'm the owner of the Rider Goodwin Law offices, where we, like Steph said, we practice family law. So family law can be a wide spectrum of things. What we specifically do is in the space of divorce and custody cases. So either initiating new cases or after the court enters orders, we help modify those existing orders. And then we also do some space as it relates to protection orders. And then we do a little bit of grandparent rights work as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I know, obviously, when you're a lawyer, you get a lot of questions from people, even if it's not the area that you practice in, and we do not practice in family law. And so I've gotten a lot of questions myself about what's happening with family law. What if I have a case going right now? What if we are after, but we're trying to figure out how to co-parent together? What if I'm thinking about filing? All of these things. So we thought we would talk about them today. So let's start, we'll kind of work through the progression of the case, right? Let's start with those people that are thinking about filing. Kelley, can they file right now? Do they have to wait until the shelter in place order is done? Kind of what's the state?
Yeah, and the short answer is yes, they can still file. Each county is different as it relates to how they're filing and really how they're taking the process. But if you engage an attorney, we can always electronically file, whether it be a new case or within an existing case or what have you. So we always have that ability, and we've had that ability for years now. And so the short answer is yes. If someone has made the decision to move forward with their case, then yes, we can always start that process and file when that person is ready. If they've also made the decision that maybe they want to wait until the shelter in place order is lifted to file, that's fine as well. We are encouraging individuals, though, that if you've made the decision to go ahead and start the internal process with a lawyer or just by yourself if you choose to do that, because there's going to be a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of tasks that go into any divorce and custody case. And the reality is, because the courts are semi-closed right now, cases are going to take longer and there's going to be a backlog. And so we need to recalibrate our expectations that your case is going to take longer. So the sooner you start doing those internal things, the quicker your case will ultimately resolve. So the short answer again is yes, we can still move forward with the filing of a case. Or if you've already filed your case, you can retain us and we can step in and file electronically. There are a couple of counties, I think it's about 6 in the entire state, 2 counties in the Denver metro area that do accept electronic filings from individuals who are unrepresented, but it's very small number of those. It certainly is at a cost, at a fee. So even then, if you choose not to hire a lawyer, some of those counties you can electronically file as well.
Okay. And that leads me to a great question, to what you said, is that if their case is already going, they can talk to you. I always hear the comment from people that, well, I've already filed, so I can't hire an attorney because I didn't file with an attorney. So is that a myth or is that true? Once you've started your case, you can't bring anybody on.
It's not true. It's a myth. And you can even change lawyers too. So as a general statement, unless you're asking or a client, an individual is asking a lawyer to do something illegal or unethical, we work for you. So you could also change attorneys if you're not satisfied with your representation. But it's not uncommon that we work with the individuals who have filed the case, and then we get on board when we're really getting into the details and the minutia and preparation for trial and mediation, that really big substantive stuff, where having a lawyer and having the advice and counsel and an advocate on your side is really important. In truth, filing a case, honestly, is not that hard. Their forms are free online. It's just now the logistics of filing, but really it's that important piece of what happens after you file and the advice and the information you're getting, making sure it's accurate and complete. Because we hear so many horror stories where people choose not to have a lawyer and they go to the usual suspects, the internet and their best friends. And unless your best friend is a family law lawyer, and even then, you may not want to talk to them about the case, you're probably not going to get the best information, and you're making some really important life-changing decisions for you and your family. And it's heartbreaking when we get those cases and when we have to honestly say, guess what, either we can't change it, or it's going to be really expensive just to try, and we may not succeed. It's always good money to talk to a lawyer. And it's also really good use of your time to shop around for lawyers, because we're all different. We all approach things differently. And again, you're getting advice on really important areas of your life, and you need to be getting the best person in your corner as possible.
Well, and you brought up a really good point that sometimes people will wait till the end or middle and say, here, now I want to hire you, and it's a little bit too late.
Mm-hmm.
You all, if somebody doesn't necessarily want to hire a lawyer to represent them and be in court with them all the time, do you all still work with people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. There's a couple of different models somebody might have heard called unbundle services and some other things. We really have a different offering, a different process, and we call it behind the scenes. Some of our clients have called it divorce coaching. And it really is when you think about a coach. So in that aspect, we still are available, and our clients have access to us for calls, meetings, emails, reviewing documents, all that stuff. We just are on the sidelines. So we don't really do anything. Normally I say outside of our office. Now we're all outside of our office, but we don't do anything public facing for you. So if you think about a coach is on a sideline, but they're telling and advising and telling the players what to do, but the player goes out and execute it. That's another an offering that we provide individuals. And so that individual who chooses to do that, they're still responsible for the court filings, representing themselves in court, making sure all the deadlines are filed and followed and all of that stuff. But we're still there behind the scenes, advising them, giving them suggestions, talking about strategy, helping them through the process. But again, we're not public facing. That's a really great option for individuals when cost is really a big concern, because you really can control costs a lot more because the ball is in the client's court of when and how they need us. And then also we have other individuals who choose that option because there's a concern that there's the fact of hiring a lawyer will create and escalate a lot of conflict. And that's the last thing we want to do. So there is that option. And again, you might, sometimes it's called unbundled. We don't call it unbundled because when I think of unbundled, I feel like different pieces. And that's confusing. We will, we do behind the scenes at whatever stage you want. So.
Okay, absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about when, right, you mentioned sometimes people already have a lawyer, or actually, let me back up a little bit. Let's talk about those cases where it's post-decree, meaning the decree has already been entered, they are divorced, and maybe now we're just dealing with kind of how to co-parent with one another, how to share custody. This is, for a while they were calling it an extended spring break, and I know on parenting plans, it talks about who gets parenting during spring break and things like that, so I'm guessing that caused some confusion. How are people to kind of proceed during this time for everybody?
The big overall statement is if somebody has court orders, they need to follow their court orders. So under the shelter in place, it's considered essential to follow a court order. So parents can still travel back and forth for parenting time exchanges. The reality of that is that comes with a lot of stuff. If one parent is being more strict about following the CDC and the other one, what if one parent is at a high risk job and the other one isn't? What if you've got a blended family and there's other kids operating on a completely different parent? I mean, it is a huge gamut. Part of the reason why, and I am thankful that our Supreme Court hasn't come out, the state of Colorado Supreme Court hasn't come out and done a blanket ruling, is because every family, every circumstances is different. And we are encouraging individuals to work with their co-parent. It doesn't have to be bad. And really the honest to goodness truth is that this is an opportunity to actually work on your co-parenting relationship. We started as a firm, a weekly webinar series when this was all happening, because we saw the need in our community for accurate, timely information. And so we've been having different speakers, and one of our speakers has been a mediator, and she talked about how to reach agreements with your co-parent. And it's really great tips. And honestly, all of our speakers, though we're talking about how to co-parent during a crisis, really the advice is at any time. But really co-parenting now, one of the things, it's an opportunity to improve upon and address your co-parent relationship. And really, this is the time in any crisis to actually increase your communication. There's a lot of individuals who don't talk to their co-parent at all, or they only talk about when it's necessary or urgent or an emergency. And we know that that's not in the best interest of kids, right? And that's a general statement. Like, there can be some safety issue stuff, but we have some general tips about that. And one of it is improve your communication, increase your communication, leverage technology, just like we're doing here. There's some other big things like practice empathy, have a little grace, both for your co-parent, but also yourself. You mentioned school. We're hearing so much from our clients, past clients, individuals, like they're not trained to be a teacher. And it's like, it's okay. Like, give yourself a little bit of grace. No kid's going to skyrocket and your kid's going to be left behind. And if you're doing the general recommended stuff, no kid's also going to follow straight behind either, right? So just relax. And then with that same token, also exercise some good self-care. We've been seeing a lot of memes and stuff about the day drink and stuff like that. And not at all here to judge or pass judgment at all. That's not my job. My job is to say that you're the best parent when you're fully engaged. And so exercise that self-care stuff that we know, and we tell all of our clients anyway. So limit your drinking, limit your alcohol or your drug use, exercise, get outside, have quality time with your family and your kids.
Absolutely. And I think while I have seen some of the memes too, and they are hilarious, I love them. But I think we, in trying to shift our mindset, can all remember that we rarely get a time where we get to be at home for those who aren't essential, where they are out working, our hospital workers, grocery workers, things like that. But we have the ability to be at home now with our kids for a long time that we haven't all gotten, probably since maternity leave or something like that. And so while there are days where it's a little bit much, it is a gift that we get to have that time. And so to practice that kind of self-care routine so that you can really take advantage of this opportunity to spend some more time with your family.
Yeah. And also, like I said, I've been hearing some stuff too about, parent shaming and mommy shaming is always a conversation. And it's happening even more so now in a time where we need to really just come together. And that's the same with your co-parent. And be vulnerable and honest with your co-parent. And when your co-parent's honest with you about like, hey, I'm really struggling about this school assignment, don't beat them up about it. Just, hey, own it. Like, that's okay. We're all in this together. And the more we can rely on each other and support each other, the better we will be when we get out of this. And honestly, the better we will be when we're in it. There is, thinking about when you're looking back at this, 7 weeks or how long ever we're going to be in this thing, what do you want to say that how you responded to it? Do you want to say that, hey, I was a great co-parent during this and we worked on a relationship and I had great, time with my kids and it was actually kind of fun? Or do we want to look back and be like, that was miserable. I made things worse. I could have done something better. You know, you kind of should all over yourself. You know, I should have done this. I should have done that. Right.
Yep.
So again, it is kind of corny, but it is an opportunity, and take it or leave it. And you have the choice of how you respond to it.
Well, and I know you've mentioned a couple of times about the best interest of the children. And I think we're seeing a lot of stuff coming out talking about, I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. And, I think sometimes as adults, we forget that this can actually be stressful on them because they don't really understand what's going on. They hear people talk about the coronavirus, about COVID-19, but they actually don't know what it is. They don't understand. And so these little people are also kind of internally stressing about these things and not knowing how to cope with them. So to your point about that best interest of like, if both parents can come together, I imagine what you guys are seeing is that child is being better equipped to handle the stress of what's going on instead of the parents adding to that.
Yeah, what we're seeing, and another guest on the webinar is a child psychologist, and she has a doctorate in psychology, and she also wrote this really great book called Mommy Burnout, and she's a national speaker on kids' mental health and stuff like that. She's local here in Denver, and she's a wonderful resource. It's a really great discussion with her about that. And she really came across with a couple of things. One is that the best, and this is a general statement, but really for kids, the best way and defense against this virus is information. And that includes telling the kids what's going on. This is not an opportunity to put kid gloves on and not tell them what's going on because they're going to hear it. Another one of her tip that she said is also don't have an end date for kids. And it's a good lesson for me. I know I was like having this end date and I realized kind of a couple days ago, I was like, I should probably not do that because what if that date comes and goes, right?
Yep.
So she was, have honest conversations with your kids, talk to them about what's going on, talk to them about the situation. And the other thing that she really talked about is that they want and need to feel protected. And when the parents are going at each other, whether it's because they're still in the same household or they're in 2 different households, it subconsciously sends a message to the kid that they're not protected in an environment that they have very little control about, right? And so that's when we see a lot of that regression behavior. And so it really was, you've got to remember, and I mean, kids, I hear it so many times from my clients are like, oh, it's fine. Like, they're little, they don't understand what's going on. Oh no, they know exactly what's going on. And so just remember, they're looking to us as adults of how to respond in a crisis, which is another opportunity to teach your kids really great lessons of how to respond in a crisis, how to treat each other, how to treat your co-parent, right? So we do need to be mindful that this is affecting our kids. And again, we can't control everything, even our children, but we can control our responses, our actions, and our mindset. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's all really great information. And before we go, I wanted to touch on one other thing. I know we talked about kind of the behind the scenes coaching you all do, and obviously full service, you represent forward facing in public, you're representing your clients. But you have another option for clients that you have created, which is Untied the Knot. Tell me what that is. What is that about and how can it help people?
Yeah, so Untie the Knot is separate from the firm. They're a little tied together because we still do conflicts checks and things like that, and there's still really great information. It's taught by licensed, experienced attorneys of the firm. So what Untie the Knot is, it's the option and the opportunity for individuals who are choosing to not hire a lawyer to still get accurate information and advice to effectively represent themselves in a divorce or custody case in the state of Colorado. There's nothing else on the market. You'll see some other national kind of programs or opportunities, but nothing Colorado specific. And it really does walk you through. So how to file, you just filed, now what? Mediation preparation, because every case is ordered in mediation, and then your day in court if some of the issues aren't resolved for full agreement. So there are live workshops. It's also going to be online as well. And so it's giving people tools and the information so they can make informed and smart decisions about themselves, their future, and their kids and their family's future. And it's really exciting. I started my career in legal aid and saw this huge gap where people can't pay for full traditional representation, and they don't qualify, or there's not enough resources to get a pro bono lawyer. And it's really affecting our kids, it's affecting our community, it's affecting the legal process, all this stuff, because they're making decisions on topics and that they don't have any frame of reference for, and information that's incomplete. And we're seeing effects of that. So hopefully people will really take advantage of it and really help themselves and their family through it.
Well, and just to kind of touch on what you said a little bit before about there are some national programs, but I mean, you've been practicing for a number of years, and obviously I've been practicing for a number of years as well. And I think I can say without a doubt that every jurisdiction and every judge is just a little bit different. Everybody has their own things that they do. And so to get advice at here's what normally happens, here's this, here's that, that's not actually what may happen in the jurisdiction or the courtroom that you're going to. So to have an attorney who has practiced here in Colorado, who knows the standards and the procedures in those jurisdictions and those judges is incredibly helpful.
Oh, I mean, 100%. All the judges and the magistrates operate under statutes, right? Like they're all guided by the same principles, best interest of this child standard and some other things. But within that is a lot of discretion, both just from a procedural standpoint, but also a decision making. And that honestly is the biggest unknown factor of any family law case, is what's going to happen if you go to court. And we really counsel our clients about those options and those risks so they can make an informed decision. Because if there's even one issue, or all the issues are somewhere in between, and any case are still in dispute, so they're not agreed upon between the parties, the default's the judge. And the judge is always the least informed person in the room, and each judge is different. And it really is to the client's advantage to understand all the moving pieces, and one of those moving pieces is the judge.
Sorry. Absolutely. Well, that is perfect. And we will post a link to Untie the Knot. It's already on our webpage. We have, I think when it came out, we posted it, but we'll post it further up in our feed so people can find it if they're interested in that. Is there anything else you think people should know at this time? Obviously, we will post your contact information so that if people have questions, can they give you a call? Can they set up an intake with you if they want to? What's kind of that process for them?
Yeah, of course. We're really big proponents on information is power, and we never will push any individual into making a decision, including to file. And so I often, so many times weekly, have conversations with individuals who just want to know about the process. And we do that over the phone. We do it for free. You'll call the office, complete an intake. We have some ethical requirements, so all lawyers have to do, and then you get on the calendar, the schedule, and we have a telephone conversation either with myself or a senior associate at the office, and we really just talk about your case. Where are you and where do you want to be? And we talk about options and certainly your questions and concerns, and so you can make an informed decision. So I enjoy those conversations because I know that then people feel that they can make the right choice for themselves. Every family is different. Every circumstance is different. And people really need to be okay with getting information and making decisions that are right for them, and not compare themselves to what happened in something else because they're special and unique and different, right? So the short answer, yes, we are always there to have a conversation. Reach out to us, and it's always confidential. Even if you decide to not move forward and hire a lawyer or not hire us, it's always confidential so that we can have a really informed, complete conversation.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kelley. I really appreciate your time today. Like I said, we will post your information in we'll tag you in it, and we'll post your information in the comments below. So if anybody has questions, please reach out. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah. Well, have a great day, everybody.